This stitch up and this pile-on that we are seeing on Jacinta Price is one of the worst that I've ever seen. And I should know, I've been a victim of quite a few of them. And to make matters worse, it is the Liberal Party that is joining in on the pile-up and saying that she should apologise for her offensive comments.
My colleague Jacinta Price said something this week that I want to apologise unreservedly for. As my leader Susan Lee said, she was wrong to say it.
Even the Liberal leader here in New South Wales is putting this out. We've seen the Liberals go up to an ethnic enclave up in Harris Park, eat samosas and a buttered chicken and apologise for what she said. But this is the problem with these stitch-ups. They focus away not on what she said, and there's a narrative. There's a leftist narrative that what she said was offensive, and that's terrible, and she must apologise. I will bet every single person in this photograph of these Liberal Party people never even bothered to listen to what Jacinta Price said. And if you ask them what did she say was offensive, they wouldn't be able to do so. So let's look at the interview that Jacinta Price did with the ABC. And let's go through it bit by bit and see if you can spot what is so offensive about this interview. It's an interview with the ABC interviewer Patricia Carvelis. So let's go through it. And as I said, let's find out if you can spot what is so offensive about this interview.
It was a pro-Australian march, a march for our identity as a country, which is about bringing us all together of all different backgrounds.
Okay, well, that's not a bad start. Jacinta talks about bringing us all together from all different backgrounds. That is how she premised her discussion. So where is anyone taking offence at that?
Was it a pro-Australia march? Because all of the I've seen the leaflets, like a lot of us have. There was a strong anti-Indian sentiment. It was not just about migration numbers, it was about the type of migration coming into Australia.
Yeah, look, the vast majority of Australians that I know and understand were making it about being pro-Australian. Yes, there are concerns around migration in this country, and rightly so. And, you know, there are many members of the community that are concerned with that, including those with a migrant background.
Now, she said what she says here is 100% correct. She says there are concerns about migration, and rightly so. Many members of the community are concerned that including those from migrant backgrounds. She's 100% right there. People are concerned about the rate of migration into this country. We've had 1 million people in the first 2 years of the Albanese government. It looks like in his first 3 years being something like 1.4 million people, net new migrants, unprecedented extreme record numbers, and people are generally concerned.
Because ultimately what pro-Australians are wanting is to limit migration to a point that is healthy for our country. We understand the benefits of migration. We've seen it. But at the moment, we are suffering without the appropriate infrastructure in place. There's pressure on services and availability, and ultimately pressure on families. And what we want to do is to be able to strengthen families.
Now again, Jacinta is 100% correct here. She says, at the moment, we are suffering without the appropriate infrastructure. It is putting pressure on services and availability. Well, that's 100% right. With an extra, I said, over 1 million migrants coming in 2 years, there's pressure on all our infrastructure. We are simply not able to keep up with the housing construction needed for 1 million migrants every 2 years, let alone the extra infrastructure that's needed. The extra schools, the extra roads, the extra hospitals, the extra police forces, the extra shopping centres. All that infrastructure is needed as well on top of houses, and a nation cannot simply cope with the number of migrants that are coming into the country. She's 100% right of those concerns.
And, you know, as we were just discussing, I've just become a grandmother.
Congratulations.
And families in this country need better support, and that's family of all different backgrounds. And I think that those were the majority of the sentiment going on over the weekend.
Okay, the majority you say, although like, I don't think we can quantify it, but I accept that you think that was the majority spirit. Is it the type of migration that people are concerned about? What is the concern that people are worried about?
The concern is the fact that we can't handle it. Our infrastructure can't handle it. It's pushing up the cost of housing. I mean, Australians that already live here, whether they be, those that come from here, originally born here, those that have made Australia their home more recently, don't have the same opportunities as we've once had in Australia.
Well, she's 100% right on that as well. Housing costs are being pushed up because of record rates of migration. It is simply a matter of supply and demand. If you increase the number of migrants coming into the country, you increase the demand and the supply cannot respond, so prices go up. Rents go up, housing costs go up. Jacinta, again, is 100% correct. And it's a really important point that she's making, because Australians that are migrating to the country today do not have the same opportunity as Australians that migrated to the country in decades before because of the housing costs. It takes a much greater proportion of your income today. You've got your income, if you look at multiples of earnings, it takes many more years of multiples of earnings to buy a property today than it does in the past. It is the migrants that have recently moved to this country that are suffering because of the high rates of migration, and that is exactly what Jacinta is saying, and she's 100% correct.
There is a housing crisis occurring, and this government does not know how to keep up with it. They're the real concerns. And look, when I travel around the country, and I've done a fair bit in my roles, over the last term, like I said, I truly believe it is a majority, because the majority of Australians that I speak to of all different backgrounds want what's best for this country and for everybody in it. But when they can clearly see that there's an issue with the intake of migrants to Australia at the moment and the pressure that it's putting on our infrastructure, that is where the concerns lie.
And so is it just the core number or the type of migrants that are coming in?
No, I believe it's the core number.
Now, there you have it. She was asked a specific question, is it about the core migration or the type of migration? And Jacinta answered, it is the core numbers. That's what she is correct about. Yes, she could have gone on about there were concerns about people migrating to this country that are not assimilating. That is a real concern as well. But Jacinta didn't say that. She stuck basically on the core numbers, which I said was 1 million in Albanese. That's the net intake. 1 million in his first 2 years, and likely in his first term, something like 1.4 million. We don't have the data. We won't have those numbers until the end of the year. So again, Jacinta's correct.
And it is definitely the core number, and of course there is a focus from this government to be getting them from particular countries over others, and
isn't it a non-discriminatory policy?
I think Labor like to be able to ensure that they're going to allow those in that would ultimately support their policies, their views, and vote for them as well. So, yeah, I mean,
do you think they're actively running a migration program to bring people in that you think will be politically open to their ideas?
Absolutely. I mean, this is Labor. Basically, it's power at any cost.
Then Carvella asked this loaded question. She says, is there a focus on this government getting more of them from particular countries over others?
So who do you think they're trying to bring in to make them vote for Labor?
Well, those that are more Labor-leaning, that are likely to be...
But there are right-wing and left-wing people in every community, right? So who specifically are they?
They are much bigger and more important electorally to Labor than, I would say, the Muslim community is. But yet, Labor's made this decision. So what I'm arguing here is that I don't think it is purely just electoral politics. Because if it was, there are things in their base, bits and pieces in their base, which are massive. Like, 85% of the Indian diaspora voted for the Labor Party at the last election. Well, thereabouts. It varies across the country.
What was the number, sorry, Cos?
About 85%.
What was the number, sorry, Cos?
About 85%. In our polling, whenever we poll them, they're about that. Two-party preferred. Huge numbers.
Well, as we've seen, you yourself mentioned that there is a concern with the Indian community, and only because there's been large numbers, and we can see that reflected in the way that the community votes for Labor at the same time.
What was the number, sorry, Cos?
About 85%. In our polling, whenever we poll them, they're about that. Two-party preferred. Huge numbers.
So if they're going to see a reflection that, okay, these individuals are going to vote for us more so than other parts of the community, well, then of course they're going to express a view that we'll get those sorts of individuals into our communities. And we've heard that
They
coming
would contest that, right? You would accept that. They would say it's a non-discriminatory policy that has nothing to do with making assumptions about how people will vote. But
Well, yes, they are. The Labor government have changed the rules. The rules are discriminatory. They've changed the rules to make it easier for people from India to migrate into this country. So the answer to that question is 100% yes. Now, it's a fact. It's been reported by the polling from Redbridge that 85% of migrants from India are voting for the Labor Party. Now, Redbridge is a respectable polling company. Yes, they're from the left, but there's no reason to doubt their numbers. Their poller, Cos Samaras, has said this and admitted this. But the real question is, who is paying for that polling? And why are they doing ethnic-based polling? Did anyone in the Labor Party pay Cos Samaras' Redbridge company to do that polling to find out the voting intentions of different ethnic groups? And did the Labor Party have in the back of their mind and have that knowledge when they were changing the rules to allow more Indian migrants to come in, because they knew that the Labor Party, they were more likely to vote for the Labor Party? And here Jacinta's 100% right. Albanese and his Labor mob are rat cunning. They are cunning as rats. Do you think for 1 minute that they wouldn't use the migration policy if it gave them some electoral advantage? Do you think for 1 minute, if their polling showed that 85% of Indian migrants were coming in and voting for the coalition, that the Labor Party would be importing record numbers from India? Of course not. These people are rat cunning. They are political animals. They don't care what they do to the country. It is all about getting themselves a political advantage.
Well,
do you think there's any evidence to say they're doing it a different way?
Well, Labor contest a lot of things, but over the years we've seen the way in which they conduct themselves, and even more so from somebody who is connected to the Indigenous community and the sentiments around. There are those who don't have the same sort of educational background or ability to stand back and go, well, what are the policies that work for us, what don't? No, they get their claw into communities and basically have them believe that Labor's what's going to take them out of their away from adversity and give them the opportunities that they want, but ultimately they end up being far more dependent on Labor and the welfare system.
So do you think that there are particular groups that are voting in higher numbers for Labor, like the Indian community?
Well, I don't think it's just the Indian community. I think it's certainly the public service sort of any group that is certainly understanding that they can rely on Labor's high spending in terms of welfare in this country. But as I said, we don't have the capacity to be able to service Australians to the best of our ability. Our way of life is getting worse. We're seeing more division. We've seen this division occur as a result of the Voice referendum, and now with the pro-Palestinian marches that are occurring in our country, and what we've seen over the weekend. And this is division that's occurring on such a grand scale, and we've never really seen it to this point in our country's history for a very long time.
So if you look in the totality of that interview, Jacinta Price simply told the truth. She talked about bringing all Australians together. She talked about the harmful effects of Labor's policy of excess numbers of migration. She made no attack whatsoever on the Indian community, and yet that is what not only the media is beating it up as, that's what the Liberal Party are beating it up as. And you wonder why these bedwetters in the Liberal Party are in opposition and the Liberal Party is in such a hopeless place. When Susan Ley was asked that question, she should have stood up and defended Jacinta Price and said what she said was 100% correct, that the data shows, the data is clear. What she should have said is that someone has paid for ethnic-based polling and racial-based polling, and it's not us at the Liberal Party. It might be the Labor Party, but that's a question you could put to Mr. Samaras. Who paid for that racially based polling? Was it the Labor Party or people behind the Labor Party? That's the question that should be asked. And she should be defending Jacinta Price 100% and saying the problem we have with migration is the core number. That is what Jacinta said, and she's 100% correct. It is pushing up housing prices. That is what people have concern about. How does squeezing our infrastructure out. But instead, They are trying to appease the left-wing media, and they are joining in on the pile-up. It makes me, honestly, it makes me sick to watch how weak and pathetic these people from the Liberal Party are today, without a single backbone in there to get in and stand up and fight on principles. And is it any wonder that the left want to attack Jacinta Price and the media want to go after her? Just listen to this speech from Jacinta Price in the Senate recently, and you'll understand why she is so hated by the left-wingers in this country.
And it begins with the virtue signalling, the politicisation of a group of people in this country because of our racial heritage. And I'm sick to death of it. As a woman, as a mother, as soon to be a grandmother, and as an Australian of proud heritage, whether it's my convict ancestors or it's my Warlpiri ancestors. I'm proud of it all, and we should all be. We should all encourage that in Australia in 2025.